programming can be some of the most difficult programming in our libraries. They're an almost impossible group to reach at times, it feels like. But over the last few years, I've really been able to kind of cultivate some things that have worked for me. And I'd love to share that with you guys today. So, who am I? That's my cat. I'm a librarian, I have a cardigan, I normally wear glasses, and I have a cat. It's my kit. But I'm the team programming coordinator at Bismarck Veterans Memorial Public Library here in Bismarck, North Dakota. I worked for almost 5 years at the circulation desk. Falling into the library was just something that kind of happened by accident. I came home to take care of my father after he had a heart surgery, and I needed a part-time job, and the library was hiring, and I was like, well, I like books. I used to love the library as a kid. I was the kid who was in the library until closing time at my university. You know, I'll try it. And I was a pre-med student with an emphasis in genetics at the time, and I went, well, this is where I belong. This is what I love. And there's been a handful of things that have led me to working with teens, but in general, I love working at any library. What we do is so important, and I'm so glad that I got to come home and be a part of my public library. So what makes me qualified? I like working with teens. Biggest thing right there, right? No, really, I actually like working with teens. We are a very thin bunch of people that actually enjoy working with teens. Most people love working with little kids. They think that the world of you, that I share an office with Miss Sparkles at Bismarck Public Library, and she is a rock star. Kids actually dress up as her for Halloween. I am not joking. It has happened on multiple occasions. But teens can be a little bit harder. They can be a little ornery, they can be a little lippy, but for me, I enjoy working with this age group. They're really starting to become their really own person, figuring themselves out. There's so much you can do with them. Also, they get my sarcasm, which is a really big plus for me, because small children do not understand that, and it makes me sad. I also worked in the Bismarck High School Library for almost 4 years. Go Demons! And I loved it there as well. I had actually had my part-time job at the public library. There was an opening at the high school. I found out about the night before it closed, and so I submitted my application last minute. And I loved it. I loved working with teens there. School libraries obviously can be a little more challenging. Kids come in, whether or not they want to be there. Sometimes they have to come in with a class. At the public library, it's a little bit different. You know, kids who come usually want to be there. And if they misbehave, I can be like, well, this is a privilege, not a right. So, not that that happens often. But it was a transition going from school to the public, but I took a lot, and I was able to use a lot of what I had learned there. I also directed children's theater for over 10 years in Bismarck, North Dakota. So my age groups was 6 to 16, so I really got to know that group as well. So that is where I discovered that I loved working with kids. I got my bachelor's degree in library science with a focus in youth services from the University of Southern Mississippi. Go Golden Eagles. It's apparently our mascot. They sent me shirts, like they were really recruiting me, and I was like, I'm not giving you more money than I have to. And also, as you might have noticed, I have a sense of humor. And I think that that is one of the biggest things about working with this age group, is you have to be able to laugh. You have to try to relate to them. I know now as an adult, I look at some of the things that the teens are thinking are the biggest dramatic things in their life, and oh my God, so-and-so didn't sit with me at lunch? And I'm like, I have a mortgage payment. I also find that if you read Catcher in the Rye as a high school student, Holden Caulfield, oh, he gets it. He gets me. I read it as an adult, and I was like, stop whining now. So you have to be able to put yourself in that mindset that for these kids, this is the biggest thing that's happening to them, but you have to be there, you have to have the sense of humor to be able to talk to them about it, to make them see the lighter side of things, because teens can be overly dramatic. But I also find that they respond really well to adults who don't talk down to them, who don't try to placate them, who just really talk to them and listen. But my sense of humor really does help. So the biggest thing, how to get teens in the library. What works? It is the biggest obstacle, and I found that at our library too. We're lucky that we, part of my coming on at my position was due to funding that was raised because we did get a new teen center at the Bismarck Library. But still, teens didn't come right away. There were months where we had this gorgeous space and nobody in it but me, sitting behind a desk waiting for a teen to come in. One of the biggest ways I get teens in, it's terrible, but it's food. They're like mini college students. In college, if you had the word free pizza, I was there. I checked out Egg Club, I checked out every club known to man because they gave me free food. Teens, I offer chips like at a video game tournament and they love it. Anytime teens volunteer with me, I have a little snack there of some sort for them. And for some of those kids, you know, they might not be getting those kind of snacks at home, that kind of thing. But for other kids, it's just nice for them to have something to munch on while they're working on stuff. And teens are always hungry, I swear. Joint programs with different age groups. This is something that's been successful for me. Finding a way to make a teen reading with kids program. I know that we did this at the BHS library where we had an elementary school that was close enough. So seniors paired with kids who were just learning to read and help them read, and that really fosters a sense of pride in both groups. I also do things with adults. So a lot of my crafting projects, a lot of things like that, I do teens and adults. It's not always parents that are coming together, parents and teens that come together, but one of my favorite programs we did, a crafting program, was beading, and the adults didn't even know half the kids, but they were sitting and they were asking the teens for advice on what looked good. What beads? Do you think these beads go together? And then the adults were helping the teens with some of the finer tying off and some of the more instructional part of it. And these teens had never met these adults. Some of them were paired together, but they just did it themselves. You know, the parents wanted, like the adults wanted advice. Does this look good? And that was a really great moment for me. So sometimes getting different age groups can get teens in and keep them in. Maybe they come with a parent or a grandparent or an aunt for the first time, but they then get to experience what your library is doing. Passive programs, this is huge for me. While I do have Tracy Jahala, head of youth services, she is head of children and teens. So a lot of what I do is sometimes a one-man band. You know, I gotta find out ways to get kids in and do different things, and passive programming can be huge for that. Especially if you're in a school and you're having to be all sorts of different places, to have things sitting in your library just for teens to come and interact with when they're there, that can be huge. I have a whole section on passive programming. Outreach. So as I said, we had nobody. I had nobody coming to my programs, nobody coming to see my awesome space until I got out and I talked to kids about what was going on in my library. So I went and I spoke to every middle school kid. And there were times, our middle schools can be huge. I talked to over 400 kids at a time. They all sat in an auditorium and I talked to them. And sure enough, that day and the next day, I started seeing kids from those schools. They heard about it. They had never heard about it. And that's the thing that gets me is, even though now our space has been open for over 2 years, there are still people who don't know that we exist. And they don't know what we provide. A lot of the times in libraries, children's programming gets pushed to the front. I mean, everybody can agree that early literacy is such a huge part. People bring their kids to the library, but it sort of falls off for teens because teens kind of get their own thing going on. So telling teens what you're offering, if you can get into a newsletter at the school, if you can even, I know our schools, some of them do an email home to parents at the end of the week. Sometimes they'll include different things, that we're offering, which is really nice. Reoccurring programs. So I have a handful of programs. that I offer on a regular basis. These are ones that are inexpensive. It's a big thing for me to be able to offer it regularly. It can't cost me a lot of money. I have to put like 18 hours into it each month. And it's got to be easy for me to run. So it's something that I know is going to happen. I can just pick it up and go with it. We have a handful of them. These are some of our more popular ones. Tuesday nights, tonight in fact, I run a board game club for teens. Board games are coming back. You might know me, I did presentations as circulating board games. We have circulating board games at our library now. I have kids who come in and just love to play board games. They put down their technology, they sit, they interact. And games, if you are not up to date on games, games are no longer just Monopoly and Clue, even those are still popular. Games are pandemic, where you all have to work together to stop diseases from spreading globally. Games are Forbidden Desert, where you have to work together to get out of a desert. Or games are about being the best ninja burger delivery man and stopping your evil rivals, the pizza delivery guys, and getting, raising your rank as you go through. Kids just love it. Like, I have all sorts of weird games. They try them all. And it's also nice because then those kids will also come in and play these games when we're not actually having board game time. Or they check them out and they have their parents playing them with them. So I love board games. I'm all about it. I run that every other Tuesday night. These are some of our craft ones. Pinterest party is what we call it. I do this in conjunction with our adult programmer. So it's nice. These we kind of each shoulder the load. These are once a programming period, so we do 3 a year. Start Your Own Mini Herb Garden is one we just did. So people painted terracotta pots. We gave them some seeds to plant, and that was that. The thing I like about these is, for the most part, we give them instructions and then they go be creative and create things more beautiful than Sarah and I ever create. But it usually doesn't cost much for us to do these, and we usually can use the leftovers for different things. We did a rock painting for last year's summer reading, rocks. So we painted rocks and left them around. They could leave them around Bismarck. We have a group called Bismarck Mandan Rocks, where people post pictures of rocks that they find that have been painted really neatly. So we did that. Kids took the extra rocks that were literally just sitting on my table, like on my countertop, and I came back a couple days later and they had glued hair and googly eyes and had made a whole story about this family of rocks. And I was like, okay, why not? Kids will glue googly eyes to anything is what I've learned. But so these can be great. And these ones can be great for intergenerational, having different levels or different ages of people. So we do these once, I call them semesters because I worked in a school. But we do spring, summer, and winter, basically. Movies. If your library has the rights to show movies, this can be great. When I showed Star Wars: The Last Jedi, I think I had like 30 kids sitting in my teen center, just sitting watching a movie. I don't even have to watch the movie. I can sit on my other side by my desk and work while it's going on, or I can watch the movie. I've done that too. But this is great. If you have the capability, like if you have the rights to be able to show movies in your library, these can be great. Because you also have, I try to show them shortly after they come out within the first week or so. You have kids who might not have been able to see it in theaters. Or you might have a giant Star Wars nerd who wants to come and talk about it with other giant Star Wars nerds, which is what happened at mine. I also do video game tournaments. This one happened to be a retro one that we did. I have another one coming up this weekend. We play Smash Brothers, I swear, every other time. They all want a Fortnite one. We do all sorts of different ones. I choose games, though, that they might not all have played to sometimes even that playing field. And let me tell you, watching them try to struggle with an old NES controller is the best thing in the world. Doesn't have joysticks. I'm like, nope, you gotta use that D-pad. And they're like, what? And there's only 2 buttons? Yes. Evil. I usually get handfuls of kids that show up for this. My prizes are normally, we have a coffee shop in our library. I normally do like a $5 gift card to our coffee shop. which they love because then they go and buy like a muffin and a soda and everything like that right away, or they buy it for the next time. But the kids kind of work themselves. Like I just record scores down. We're fortunate that we do have video game systems for this one. I brought in my old video game systems because I'm a giant nerd and I have all mine still. But this was fun, and it was really great to see because there are some kids who play, Mario Kart every day and they're going to win the tournament every time. But when you pick some of the lesser known games, another great one is if you have a Wii U, Runbow. Kids were like, I hate this game. The next day they came in, they were all playing it still. And the kid who won, he was like, this is the worst game ever. And I was like, I said, you won. And he was like, I really like this game. Great game. Yes. Dungeons and Dragons is making a big comeback. I don't think it ever really went away, but it's becoming more and more pop culturally referenced, especially with things like Stranger Things. They play Dungeons and Dragons. I am lucky in the fact that I attempted for 1 week to be a dungeon master, and I failed miserably. I fell so hard on my face. I was like, guys, I'm going to fix this. We're going to figure something out, because I did not know at all what I was doing. I found a local group that they are family-oriented. It's a bunch of families who get together and play, and they were looking for a space. So we give them a space in our library, and they allow anyone from the public. We advertise it as a patron-led program. I've gone to a couple of them, but I don't go every week, or every other week. But it's great, because it's parents with their kids. It's, people who grew up playing this in the 70s and 80s, they want their kids to experience it. And it's nice because there's other kids there then too. But so this has been a really popular one. And I'm glad I don't have to run it because it is really confusing if you don't know what you're doing. But there is a good chance that there is somebody in your community that would love to be in charge of something like this. And for the most part to them, it doesn't matter if it's teens. Like I was like, well, it's going to be teenagers. They're like, oh no, that's fine. I was that teenager. Oh, I want to show them. I want to help them. So it is really great. So some of the other things I do, great program ideas. Right? There are. You read these like the newsletters. You go to other libraries' websites to try to get ideas for what you can do. So great program ideas that didn't work for me at all. Absolute utter failures. But I'm going to share them with you because you know what? They might work in your library depending on what your community is offering. I found that with some of these programs, I just have too much overlap with other groups, so I wasn't pulling in the kids. They had other things they had to be at. Lego Club, oh my gosh, I went nuts. We bought so much for Lego. We did all this stuff. I get no one. No one would show up. Lego Robotics, no one. Just Lego building, no one. It was usually Becky, our Lego guru, and I just building stuff out of Lego, hoping a kid would come in and want to play with us. And they never did. But you see all over the place that people have these super successful Lego programs. Our problem is in some of our through Boy Scouts or through 4-H or for different, they're getting this experience with somebody they've already known and they've been working on. We have Lego robotics teams in some places. So for us, we have a very successful youth Lego program at the public library. Teens, I just gave up. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love building houses for sharks. I like my shark piece is the best. But I build houses for sharks playing cards, because that's my thing. But there were better uses of my time. So we finally just had to cut out Lego, which was really hard for me. I really pushed it past where I should have. But I had to realize, you know what? It's not working. The teens don't want to do it. So, book clubs, right? It's like our bread and butter. I get nobody. Nobody. And we used to at Bismarck Public Library have a thriving book club. Before I was there, they had a group of 10 kids who met every few months and talked about books and did all of that. I tried movie tie-in books where we'll discuss the movie or we'll discuss the book and then watch the movie. Nope. I'll offer all kinds of snacks. Nope. Nobody wanted to come. Adults should read. They will have a million ideas because we're trying to start a YA for adult club because we have so many people who love reading YA still. They're like, oh, you have to read this and this and this and this. I was like, well, we should do a book club with those. I'm like, oh no, not for me. Otaku or anime clubs, huge other places. Discussing manga. I ran it for about a month or two where I had all these kids and they talked about, they showed their drawings to each other. They just want to get together and hang out and nerd out over their love of anime and manga. And then it seemed like all of a sudden, I got nobody. And some of the kids said, they formed their own clubs, like at their schools. They would get together in the library after school and talk about it. We had, at BHS when I was there, we had an active anime club. And there was 20 kids there every month when they did it. So this is something that is really popular. And it is like a niche group that you can really focus on. And they are very passionate. We always had fun. I would go buy snacks from our local Asian market, and we would try the fun snacks. That was everyone's favorite part of it, I guess. But then it slowly got to the point where they just weren't interested. So that could be something that would really work for you. It worked for us for just a little bit of time, and then it nosedived, and I had to get rid of it. Interactive movie. I swear, on all of my listservs, everybody's always sharing their scripts for interactive movies. We're doing Elf, we're doing this, we're doing that. I held Hocus Pocus, the interactive movie event. It's all ready, super excited. I even opened it up to all ages, and I had 4 people show up. So, I had all this stuff, I prepared all this, and they weren't really into it. They kind of just wanted to watch. So there are other places I read about, and I go, what is the hook that they get them in with? And I still haven't been able to figure it out. But that's something that I think sounds like so much fun. Trivia. I am a giant trivia nerd. I moonlight on trivia teams quite often. Trivia in the Bismarck-Mandan area is huge. Almost every single night of the week, there is some bar in town that offers trivia. And they're not always family friendly. So I opened it up and was like, family trivia. I had 2 people one night, I had 3 people, and I did a wide variety of things. But other places will say that doing, Kahoot or doing like a Jeopardy style thing really will work for them. And you can work trivia into we did trivia in our anime club for a while, and that was really fun and popular there. But it just didn't work for me. Special programs. So, these are programs that either have an outside presenter that I have to schedule and or pay. They cost way more money than I ever want to spend on a program. They are very time intensive for setup, execution, and they are overall exhausting. These are also, I will tell you, some of my most well-attended events. They're just not things that I can do all the time. So, escape rooms, very fun. You can even go, I belong to Breakout EDU, and they have all sorts of resources for ones that you can then just implement if you buy the locks and everything. Breakout rooms are great, but every 45 minutes you have to reset everything and go through the spiel again of this is this, and this is, and ooh, here's this. And I was trying to make a whole theme going on about it, and they're great, and they're fun, and they are so well attended. But I do maybe 1, maybe 2 a year, just because it is so draining for me. It doesn't cost me a lot because I can find most of the resources online, and once you buy the locks, you have the locks. But my gosh, it is so tiring. But they are really popular. And it's nice because it gets them thinking, it's teamwork, it's creative problem solving. And in schools, especially with Breakout EDU, they have them for almost every single subject you could ever imagine. So they're great. Oh my gosh, at the end of the day though, I'm always like, are we done? Oh my God, could you just get out, just break out. The last group, you're like, come on. After hours, capture the flag, Nerf battle. I was lucky that I found a sale on Nerf. It was 50% off, so I was able to buy 20 blasters. Although let me tell you, trying to put together advertisement and posters without using the word gun, ammo, shoot is really hard. But this is, again, one of my biggest programs. And at the end of the night, when I'm exhausted, and I haven't even been doing half the running the kids have done, they're like, can we do this again? And I'm like, in 6 months. This one usually runs at 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. It's after our library closes, so they get the whole library to themselves. It's a lot of fun for them. We just did one this winter. It was so great because it was so cold outside, so they haven't really had that opportunity to just run around. And my second time I tried to do more like we did target shooting, and they were like, we just shoot each other. They just want to sit and shoot each other. So this is one that is huge, and if you are able to, other places do it where they have the kids bring their own Nerf things. I asked for donations from my community, and I got a handful of things. But it was really nice for us when we purchased. That way, everyone has the same. You know, nobody has some sort of weird high-powered thing. But we did it as capture the flag, and it was a lot of fun. Cat lady, cat crafting. You could do animals, you could do all sorts of stuff. We partner with a local rescue, Furry Friends Rock and Rescue. They bring some of their animals in that are up and available for adoption. I got this idea through people do cat cafes, where you can just come in and sit with a cat and have some coffee. We do it as a crafting event. That again is my cat in the top. She's super cute. I love her so much. But we made it so that they could create crafts while they were there that were cat themed or for cats. And then they got to meet the rescues and potentially they could become an adopter and take home one of their cats. The group absolutely loved it. We're doing it again this spring in about a month. But that was one that I did get a lot of teens to because it was just fun. They got to come and hang out with animals, and it was a way to partner with another group in the community, and we're doing more and more with them. A Lego make and take. This is not as expensive as you think it is. We did a Lego ornament make and take. It was open to all ages. We listed 200. We ended up buying an extra 100 kits. I buy the bricks in bulk off of, it's called Bricklink. It's like the eBay for Lego. People sell bricks in bulk for way less than you could find at lego.com pick a brick. So I bought them. These were the 4 designs we offered. You have to put, it is a little time intensive. You have to put them into the baggies. We didn't want kids, just grabbing so that people were getting all kinds of weird stuff. But we put them into their baggies. They got to come. We ran out within 5 minutes. Like, we started handing out tickets, at 10 minutes too, because our line was all the way snaking through our entire library, around the corner, and out the door. So I was like, we got to start handing out. We had tickets for our event. So we started handing out to the people who were first in line, and then, ours were gone within, 15 minutes. We had no more left. It is a great event if you are able to swing the budget for it. To do these, I believe to provide 300 of them, the gingerbread house is the kicker. That's the problem with this one. The gingerbread house was about $3 per kit, which isn't too extravagant, but still more than I wanted to spend. The other 3 were all around or under $1 for the entire kit. So if you put in the time and don't mind going through and ordering 500 of this, 600 of that, and putting them together, this was huge. We are doing this again at our summer reading kickoff this year for the Bismarck Mandan Public Libraries up at the Heritage Center with the State Library. We have space-themed ones. I'm already counting Lego for it, but it's great. The kids love it, and it's something they then get to take home. Again, I was shocked at how many teens showed up. I had some teens who drove in from Glen Ullin for this event. They were very excited about it. They had heard about it. So it's something, that you could easily do on a smaller scale even. I also ask for donations a lot, like donations from groups to sponsor it. This happened to be sponsored by our friends group. Learn to knit, learn to sew, learn to crochet. Luckily, I know how to crochet. Somebody else knew how to knit, and I have a friend who knows how to sew. These were very popular with teens. I had more teens come to these than adults, which normally it's 50-50. But these were a lot of fun. I get enough yarn donations from my community that I always allow them to take the yarn that they're working on home with them. I also got a donation from somebody who had purchased a lot of teaching kits, and it comes with a ball of yarn and either the knitting needles or the crochet hook so they could take them home with them. I have never purchased yarn for my teen center, and I have some in a back closet. Because there's always somebody in your community who thinks that they want to make things. They don't. I myself am guilty of that.
Guilty laughter.
Yep. That's how I talked about my beading. My beading class we did, all of it was donated. I got almost $8,000 worth of bead supplies donated to us from a lady who no longer was beading. And I just put the call out on our Facebook page and just said, hey, if anyone has any craft supplies they'd be willing to donate, our teens could really use it. And this one woman said, my mom used to do this as like a crafting thing she loved to do. She's not able to do it anymore. Would your teens like it? I said, yeah, that'd be great. Just bring them in. And she brought in bag after bag after bag. And I was like, yep, I will take it. Lock-in. I don't think I will ever do one of these again. The kids had so much fun. After hours, kids just like being in the library after hours is a big thing too. So with this, we did scavenger hunts, we did photo things. I tied it in with the National Teen Lock-In at the library event. That takes place every July. It was just really it was more exhausting than the Nerf battles. Just, at least with the Nerf battle, the kids seem to always have a goal in mind. Here, I'd be like, okay, we're doing a scavenger hunt. Find me a book in the library that has the word pig in the title. And they would have to run around and try to find, like, we had all these books themed scavenger hunts. And half the time I'd go and I'd be like, what are you guys doing? Like, they'd just be messing around, and it was really tiring. This again was our beginning sewing class. This one I had brought in an outside person to help with. It was intense. I was sort of expected to help out, and I don't know how to sew, so that was something I didn't think of. But sewing classes can be really great. We do have a sewing machine in our teen center, so it was kind of a tie-in to that to get kids to learn how to use it. A big one for us is Allie LaRock is a local artist. She teaches classes for us. This is one from last year. We did painting. I do have to pay her, and then I do also have to purchase supplies. But this class fills up, usually has a wait list. This year we're doing, to tie into our Comic-Con, we're doing fandom signposts. She makes these little signposts, and kids get to paint, like Hogwarts this way, Dagobah that way. And we're filling up for that already too. Plus, Allie LaRock is well known to our students. She does a lot of work in the schools. She goes to the schools and teaches art. The kids love her, so that's another thing. If you have somebody in your school system or that could come that the kids recognize, that always helps. BizCon. This is our biggest event. And I will say probably our biggest draw for teens. BizCon was formerly Bismarck Comic-Con. We have rebranded ourselves because of the whole copyright thing, which apparently as librarians we have to care about. So, BizCon, happening May the 4th be with you here in Bismarck at the Event Center. We do a pop culture convention. It started out 3 years ago. I was hopeful that 50 people would show up, and we had over 1,200. Yeah, it's terrifying. But here's the thing about it. And my mom was there with me that day, and I was somewhat in charge of things, and I was like, I'm gonna cry. Mom, I'm gonna cry. I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't even changed into my costume. I was going as Quail Man from Doug, and I was still in like my work clothes. I never got changed into my costume. I was just overwhelmed. And my mother said, people like dressing up and hanging out with people who love the same things they do. It's all they care about. And it's true. Like, we offered almost nothing that first year. We had like a room where you could watch Lord of the Rings. We had some board games. We had some Dungeons and Dragons people. We had a trivia competition and a costume contest. And that was it. And we had over 1,200 people come. We're not going to talk about breaking fire code because we 110% did. But we were like, okay. So next year we asked people what they wanted. And last year we had almost 2,300 people attend. At our library, we had moved it around. We had the Discovery Dome from Dickinson State come. We did, we had panels with local authors and artists that just kind of talked about what it's like, their process. We had local cosplayers. Here in North Dakota, there's a great group called the Mandalorian Mercs. They come, they dress up, they have these amazing, authentic Star Wars costumes. They're an amazing group of people. You can reach out to them. But they come and they show off their stuff. But the biggest thing for us was people just came in their costumes and had so much fun. Doing just silly things and meeting other people. You'd see somebody who was dressed as a character and you'd be like, oh my God, oh, I love that show. And that's it. That's what, and I'm a giant nerd. And that's what I love doing too. When I find out that somebody else is a Ravenclaw, what? Yeah. I love it. I'm like, yes. I'm a Ravenclaw, absolutely. A little bit Slytherin, but mostly Ravenclaw. And this is my wand, and I'm really ashamed of my Patronus though, you guys. My Patronus is a salmon.
Mine's an orangutan.
Oh, my, see? My boss has a brown bear, and I was like, your Patronus eats my Patronus. It's a really sore spot for me, but I share it because it's part of healing, I guess. But it is. If I meet somebody who likes it, like if I see somebody with a Harry Potter shirt on, I'm like, hey buddy, did we just become best friends? And that's what this is. So you don't have to grow it to something so huge. We're lucky that we're able to partner with our regional CW station. So this year they are paying for us to go to the event center so we can spread out a little bit more. But you can do nerd groups on a small level. You can do an anime convention. You can do, but really giving people the opportunity, especially teens, to dress up and talk about their favorite fandom. And the best part is now it's so cool to like Star Wars. I remember when it wasn't cool to like Star Wars. And when, like, you know, San Diego Comic-Con was a comic book convention. It wasn't these big pop culture things. Now, nerd culture has become pop culture. And so more and more people are willing to celebrate it. So, if you want to come to BizCon, I'm terrified. It's a month away, and I'm nowhere near done with it. But this is one that gets teens. We get teens at all of our lead-up events to it. We get teens that participate in our cosplay. Like we have a thing where one of our, the girl who actually teaches our sewing class helps them with their cosplay costumes. She helps them with their costumes. They can come in and say, how could I do this? And she'll say, you know what, this and this. She's a theater person, so she's got that kind of brain. And it's amazing. I'm running out of time. Passive programming. I am lucky, and I know that 100%. We have a gorgeous space at the Bismarck Public Library for teens. If you haven't been able to see it, the next time you stop in our library, please come back and see me in there. It is gorgeous. I am not always there. So I like to have things out for teens to do, even if I'm not there. We're lucky that our teen space is a lockable room, so but it's all glass. So teens can check out a key and use that room as a study space, or we have all the art supplies they would ever need in there. But I also try to do things for other people throughout the library. And passive programming can be all sorts of stuff. I have to show off because it's gorgeous. This is my teen space. So I sit in my back corner here, and then we've got a lovely gaming area on one side. They paid a lot of money for this, so I always feel I have to show it off. And then this is my fishbowl, because it is all glass, so I live in a fishbowl. So they can use that space. But in addition to that, crafting. As I said before, and you'll see a picture of the Rock family, if you leave out crafting supplies, especially googly eyes, I can't tell you how many boxes of googly eyes I go through each month. They love it. And it's really inexpensive, googly eyes. I was saying googly eyes. Bringing attention or showing them what you're offering. A lot of the times my displays will tie in sometimes to programs I have coming up. This is a big one too. We did this at the high school that I worked at, PHS, set out old technology, okay? We let them play on a Nintendo during finals week. So if they were taking a break from finals, they got to come and play Mario Kart on the Nintendo 64. And then our principal came and like wiped the floor with everyone, and it was hilarious. But it's just nice. It's a relaxation thing. The other one that kills me, typewriters. If you put a typewriter out, the typewriter we put out at VHS wasn't even like an old typewriter. It was a modern typewriter, you know, with like the erasing strip and the this and the that. It wasn't even real ink. It was, they typed on it for hours. We put it out at Valentine's Day so they could type love letters. We put it out, they just like the click-clack of those keys. I don't know what it is. But at our library, at my library, we do have some typewriters still around, because there are people who like to do typing on an old typewriter. We put them out, and the kids do. They just love it. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is, but it is. Also, rotary phones really confuse them. Kid was like, how do I call Domino's with this? And I was like, well, you would dial the number. And he goes, but how does Domino's know an answer? It's a phone. I was like, you're right, this one isn't plugged in, but it would be plugged in like this phone over here that we have. And he's like, no, but how do they answer this kind of phone? Another really fun thing that we put out that maybe you have in your basement, I have a record player. It's a Sesame Street record player. It comes in a Big Bird box. Awesome. They loved it. The other fun thing, if you have an 8-track player, they are flabbergasted by the fact that you can't just skip songs, that like you go from one part to the middle of another song. They were like, well, how? What? And it makes them appreciative of all that they have. But so old technology can be really fun and really entertaining for you to watch them try to figure it out for a while first, and then you can teach them about it. It's a teachable moment. These are some of my displays I've done. So this is Banned Books Week. I cover books in black paper and put why it's been banned. It's a great conversation starter. Teens would open up a book and they'd be like, wait, Twilight? And I'd be like, yes, I agree, it should be banned. No. But so many of them, they couldn't understand why, and so it starts a dialogue. So we did that. Bird Box. This was the Bird Box. Ooh. I did a take on Blind Date with a Book this year. That was instead the Bird Box Challenge. I'm not a big romance fan. Can't stand doing Blind Date with a Book one more time. So we did horror novels and thrillers and suspense. And we billed it as, are you brave enough to look? And we put a couple of, notifiers on the front. So if it was zombies, I put zombies so that if you're really not a zombie person, you wouldn't pick that one up. You might pick up the alien or, but then they got to take it home. This is scraps of fabric that I had laying around from other projects, and we made blindfolds for them. They ate it up. They just thought it was the most fun thing in the world. And most of them actually came back and were like, I read that book and it was great. Good. Once Upon a Reboot. I've done this when we've had other Disney themed things coming up. We did a Disney trivia. So I did Once Upon a Reboot as a display, and then I normally put a poster next to it so that if they come to check out the books that they see, they'll see also that I have a program that they might be interested in. I just like showing this because I like this picture. Shakespeare. This is another reboot kind of thing. These are kids just in my space doing crafting. This is the Rock family. Look at them. They all had stories too. Honestly, some rocks, some hot glue, yarn, and googly eyes. And those girls sat there for about 3 hours that day making that. I was like, okay. Perler beads. I don't know if any of you have the love of perler beads. I have so many spread throughout my entire library all the time, but perler beads are really a big thing. And the nice thing is if you trust your teens enough, I just leave an iron out and they can do it on their own time. We did Fantastic Beasts and the Hunt for Fantastic Beasts. I found this on a listserv. We hid beasts throughout the library. These little mini cards here. And when people found them, they brought them up and they could be entered in to win tickets to the movie. We're doing this again for Avengers. Ours will be tickets for Comic-Con, or BizCon, I gotta learn that. But we're gonna do it in the weeks leading up to that. So this is, for me, it does cost me the price of 2 movie tickets, which in Bismarck is $1 million. It's like $285? I don't know. It's really more expensive than I wanted it to be. But then we hit these, and I literally had a lady one day that was like scouring the library, and she was asking all the staff, she's like, do you know where those are? And I was the only one who knew, and I was like, no. This is another big thing. It's a little harder to see. I do reader's advisory like this too, because sometimes teens can be embarrassed to ask for questions, or ask for books, or ask for recommendations. Also, as the only teen person on staff, I'm not there. And so these are really helpful for some of my other staff members. If a teen comes in at 8:30 on on Thursday night and I'm not there, they can still help. And I have them for a wide variety. So I do recommend doing that. Sorry, I gotta go, I'm almost out of time. The last thing I want to talk about is volunteering. Volunteering can get kids into your library. So many students need hours for National Honor Society, for AVID, for all sorts of things, for college scholarships. So I like to get them in through that. Again, I normally feed them when they come to volunteer. So teens can volunteer through like a tag or a tab group. They were instrumental in deciding our headquarters. But a big thing can be too, letting them paint the bookends for a section of the library. Anything that starts to give them ownership. I also asked them for assistance in book selection when we moved our nonfiction teen to its own section. I said, look at this and tell me what you're interested in, what I'm missing. What do you think is so outdated that you would never ever check this out? And so they helped me go through my collection. So anything that they can kind of feel ownership over their section. The other fun things we do a make and take craft for kids. So they put this together, I give them the supplies, they put everything in a bag for kids. And this is something that you could do, not necessarily just for your library, but you could do it for a shelter in your town. You could do it, there's a million different places, a church. You could donate, an elementary school class. So we provide everything they would need inside except for glue or markers. But so everything else was inside, the instructions were all in there, and the kids put them together. We made about 45 of them for our children's department, and they were gone within 5 days. People came in and it's a great way to get families together, and maybe families who can't afford all the supplies or who are looking for something different. This was great, and our teens love doing it. The biggest thing we do for volunteers though, stuffed animal sleepover. This is a once, maybe twice a year deal because it is a lot of work. But I put my teens in charge of a lot of it. So what we have is our children's library. We open it up to the children at our library. They sign up for a spot. The children do not sleep at the library. I don't know how many times parents were like, so you'll watch my kid overnight? No. No. They get to pick a stuffed animal to bring with them to a special stories time shortly before we close. And then the stuffed animals go to sleep. And then, after everyone leaves, the stuffed animals get into all sorts of crazy situations that our teens put them in, take pictures, we post them online. To give you an example, here are some of our stuffed animals hanging out in a CD drop. And then we post these pictures online throughout the night so kids can see what their stuffed animals are up to. Here they TP'd our children's section. Here they're pretending to check out books. My teens love this. They get about 5 hours of volunteer work from the time we start the story hour to the time they get to leave. And they just get to pose stuffed animals in silly positions and take pictures of them. And then the next morning they come back and the kids are all like, I didn't know my dog could walk. one little boy who was so happy that his little monkey had made a friend, because he was very nervous the entire night that his monkey would not make a friend. And all of my teens were like, so this is one that makes a big impact, especially too, I do sometimes specifically contact teachers like our people who are looking to go into early childhood education, people in the child care classes. This can be a great opportunity for some of them to get some hands-on experience with stuff. So that's something that I love to offer. This is my information. Laura Risby, Team Program Coordinator. If you guys have any questions or have any ideas you want to bounce off of me or anything like that, I am almost always available. And I would love to talk to you. I love discussing things for teens because I feel like they are underserved, but not through our fault. We try, but we've got to find the right way to serve them. Does anybody have any questions for me right away? Otherwise?